Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As if you've joined us before, you'll know that I'm just going to do a quick sound check. So if you can hear me, please find your chat box on the GoToWebinar panel and just pop yes in there for me, just so that I know that we're live, we're loud, we're clear, you can hear us all. Perfect. I do hope everybody's well. Just going to wait for a couple more replies. Perfect. Fantastic. Great. Always good when we've got audio on these things. Fantastic. So just a quick introduction from me. My name is Chantel Newton and I'm the Marketing Manager at the UK Contact Centre Forum and also editor of our online e-magazine Contact Centre Monthly. Just got a few housekeeping steps to go through before we begin. At the end of today's session, there is a short poll question. When prompted, the poll will appear in a separate box on your screen. You just simply select the answer that applies to you from the list provided, and then I'll close that poll once we've got the replies. We do want this session to be fully interactive today, so if you have any questions for our panel, please post them into the questions box on your GoToWebinar panel. The webinar session is expected to last 45 minutes today. If you're unable to stay for the whole session, the webinar is being recorded and the link will be emailed to all participants within 24 hours of the webinar ending. Please feel free to share this with any colleagues. It's not sort of exclusive to you, so feel free to share it with your peers. So let's get today's session started. I'm going to hand you over to the very lovely Jay Gupta, who's the AI expert from Talkdesk. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Chantel. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm Jay, Director of Product Marketing at Talkdesk. If you're not familiar with Talkdesk, we are a cloud contact center service provider. And today's session is about 3 automations to implement today to reduce handling time. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so let's just start thinking about the last time we went to the bank or a travel agency to book a holiday. Now, of course, the pandemic did restrict a lot of in-person visits and going into a branch or a store, but it has accelerated a trend that did start before the pandemic. So these forces were very much in play before the crisis, but you know, the pandemic has been that catalyst for more rapid and radical change. And the things that we used to do have been automated away, should we say. Today's society, the way we live, the technology that surrounds us, has pushed us to want more convenience and faster ways to get served. Next slide, please. Now, there's a phrase that I often hear, which is everything that can be automated should be automated. Now, when I hear that sentence alone, it's enough to conjure up images of a daunting dystopia ruled entirely by robots, but in fact the opposite is true. Okay, we may have more bots doing different things for us, but their only purpose will be to make the everyday an enjoyable, more fulfilling experience by removing a lot of the repetitive, menial, mundane tasks and really freeing up our time to focus on the things that only humans can do, and ultimately giving us as both customers and as employees better experiences. So you can see here, you know, from self-service to behind the scenes, and these are, you know, familiar automations that we're already seeing in our daily lives. Next slide, please. So for happier customers and lower costs, companies do need a better way to steer their digital transformation, so to speak, and implement automation in a way to drive simple, predictive, proactive, and responsive customer experiences. Across industries, telcos, banks, insurers, energy retailers, and so forth, have always been you know, well, more so today, have been finding it quite difficult to stand out from the crowd, with limited opportunity to differentiate their product offerings beyond geographic coverage, for example. So a lot of these businesses, you know, typically are competing by, you know, offering a combination of low prices and a good customer experience to drive acquisition and retention. And a key challenge for such organizations is really ensuring that they can deliver on each of those elements without compromising the other. So there's a great deal of pressure on businesses to become more driven towards the kind of the simple, predictive and proactive and responsive customer experiences. But there's a lot of pressure to do that, but it's difficult when you've got a lot of intense competition coming in from new digital native market entrants who are leveraging cloud infrastructure and technology like AI and machine learning, and really offering a radically different way to sell and serve and support customers. Next slide. But while the many benefits of automation, aren't in dispute, seamless implementation and adoption, does require cooperation from, your most important people. That's your most important assets, which is people. And employee engagement is the oil in the wheels of any contact center. And it's how an employer, builds those productive relationships with employees that makes everyone want to sort of achieve those same goals and give their best in doing so. So if in any customer-facing business, it's impossible to create a strong service ethos without having effective employee engagement. And employees have, the potential to be powerful ambassadors and really drive new technology across the board. And so it's really important to put employees and their needs at the heart of transformation, and especially with something like automation. Next slide, please. So at Talkdesk, our engineering and product development teams have put AI at the heart of automation and helping contact centers achieve 3 core outcomes. So number 1, it's about increasing the customer self-service rate. 2, identify causes of customer issues. And 3, help agents resolve issues correctly and quickly. And by focusing on these 3 outcomes, what we call jobs to be done in Talkdesk, we're helping contact centers use AI and automation to solve some of the biggest challenges in customer experience and get to outcomes that ensure better customer satisfaction. Next slide, please. So if you're responsible for running a contact center, then of course, average handling times and call volumes are important metrics that you look at. I just recently read an article about some industry stats quoting that the average customer service call is over 5 minutes and can cost on average about £4.27, probably more now. So it's no wonder that every business with a contact center wants to focus on reducing handling times. And what is average handling time? Well, it is of course an important metric that measures the average amount of time needed to resolve or support or service a request. It includes time spent on putting a customer on hold, delays, and of course any follow-up actions to fulfill the customer's needs. And of course it determines, the average length of phone calls, which, can be used to analyze chat. But we could also use the metric to analyze chat and email queues as well. And at Talkdesk, when we think about automation, we think about all the major and micro tasks across the customer journey that could reduce handling times. So whether that be authenticating customers automatically, which can, reduce as much as 40% of the handling times. Just a few weeks back, I was in a conversation with a customer in Turkey, and they said that their agents probably spend on average about 40% of their time just authenticating, just making sure that the customer is who they say they are. So yes, so automatic authentication definitely, is a great tool to bring in at the front end when helping customers actually get to the point of being served. And then of course enabling customers to self-serve, but then empowering agents to also give customers answers faster. So in fact, the 3 outcomes that I mentioned earlier in my slide have various elements of automation that can be embedded in this journey. And it includes a mechanism to use something called human in the loop, where contact center staff and non-technical staff can fine-tune the automations and even fine-tune the AI models that's giving automation its predictive power. Next slide, please. But it must be possible, of course, for a contact center to implement a lot of the AI-powered automation without having the clout of tech companies, so not having to rely on IT, data scientists and developers who in many other tech companies do a lot of the heavy lifting. So at Talkdesk, we focused on delivering no-code AI tools and making automation quite easy to implement, and even make contact centers more data driven and gather insights that are absolutely difficult to find with just human power. So for many companies, who do want to be more data driven, that one of the barriers is that you don't have data science teams, and that's one of the core skills that the big tech companies have really grown over the years in terms of hiring an army of data scientists. But for most companies, that's just, first of all, data scientists are there's a shortage of data scientists out there, but they're also very expensive resources as well. So, so though AI and automation, is a strategic priority for many companies, the truth is it is a struggle, and it's costly to find the right talent. However, with no-code tools, you have a great alternative to embrace AI and automation, but also get deeper in terms of the kind of analyzing the interaction data and getting results faster. And it's an incredibly cost-effective way to do all of that. Next slide, please. But no-code automation took decades to develop, and I'm going to go back in history a little bit here. So I want to start off by how AI itself has evolved and do what Steve Jobs might describe as connecting the dots backwards. So in 1950, Alan Turing published a paper called Computing, Machinery and Intelligence, and he famously asked, can machines think? And more accurately, can machines successfully imitate thought? And while 70 years later, the answer is still no. The machine hasn't passed the Turing test. And then in 1955, the term artificial intelligence was coined by a professor called John McCarthy, who described it as the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, but only after they are trained. And then there were a couple of quiet periods of AI known as the AI winters, which is where there was some reduced funding and some lack of interest, we say, in AI research. And there were several hype cycles as well, followed by some disappointment. But it took a very long time to get that renewed interest years later, and it really happened around 2010, 2011 with what we call the deep learning revolution, where big tech companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Netflix invested heavily and experimented heavily into deep learning with machine learning and AI. And as a result, these tech giants have dominated much of AI. And then we had the emergence of cloud and the mega clouds, so AWS and Google Cloud and Azure, which has led to the era of what many will call the democratic AI, and making it easier for other tech companies to build AI applications. And so today, we're in an era called no-code AI, which basically makes it easier for software providers like ourselves to bring the benefits of AI and automation and make it more accessible to companies without them needing to have IT or developer skills or data scientist skills indeed. Next slide, please. And there are great examples of how AI is and automation is breaking down communication barriers. So there's some examples here. Firstly, Bloomberg. Of course, they're a well-known financial services player. They provide a lot of stock market news to customers all over the world. And they use an AI translation service to instantly share the breaking news with their business customers in more than 170 countries in 40 different languages. And it's imperative for them that all of their customers across the world get that information at the same time. It's not only imperative, but it's fair as well. So Bloomberg needs to deliver that information and needs to make sure that they provide the same information at the same time. So using AI and automation, they're able to do this. Another great example is here in the UK, where the NHS is actively promoting the use of Google Translate on its website to help people understand important information about how to access healthcare services. And then Apple, and their AI voice assistant Siri are working to make it more accessible to people who suffer from speech articulation disabilities, which includes building a database of thousands of audio clips of stuttering to improve its voice recognition system. And so the great news for the customer service world is that many of these AI techniques can be brought into the everyday use cases that are relevant in customer service. Next slide, please. So natural conversations between humans and machines, similar to conversations between two humans, is considered to be the hallmark of an intelligent system, and what is more popularly referred to as conversational AI. And it's a key area of development for customer service in terms of moving away from the traditional, say, chatbots to more AI-powered tools that allow for more natural ways to interact with customers. And these techniques include natural language processing and natural language understanding, which are branches of AI that understand and can analyze and respond to human text or speech. So I won't go into details on all these techniques, but I will point out that AI has opened up the ability to do translations and transcriptions in multiple languages, and I think this could be a great game changer for customer service as a means to make customer service more inclusive. Next slide, please. So decoding the anatomy of an interaction is really how AI models can extract important information from the unstructured interaction data. So in this very, very simple example here, a customer is calling in about a car. The utterance captured is the Model A super electric car available for pre-order. The AI models can extract the product or entity the customer is calling up about, which is the Model A super electric car, and their intent, which is to purchase. Now, of course, this is a very simple, straightforward query, but AI models can understand the nuances of human language and the various different ways that people may phrase a question. Next slide, please. And there's a lot of customer intelligence that lies in the untapped potential of unstructured interaction data. So with AI, you can automatically uncover a lot of customer insights that are found in this unstructured data. And it's said that unstructured data is about 80% of a typical enterprise's data. So there's a lot of value there that just hasn't been realized just yet. But we can transform the way companies address many of the business challenges, but also how to shape customer service in a digital world. And so by being able to extract valuable insights, you can find ways to figure out how you can remove friction points and also take away a lot of the time-consuming intelligence and analytics work that is currently done, and actually streamline that and make it more automated and at scale. Okay, next slide, please. So now that I've touched upon the benefits of automation and more specifically AI, we'll come up to the 3 outcomes that we want to achieve and what 3 automations you can implement now. So next slide. Okay, so automation 1, so virtual agents. So if we look at virtual agents is a very important self-service tool. It's a massive leap forward from the traditional chatbots that personally many of us probably have a bit of a love-hate relationship with. Instead, you have something here that uses conversational AI techniques to overcome a lot of the communication barriers that a traditional chatbot couldn't do. And so with an AI-powered virtual agent, you can use it for both voice and digital chat interactions, and you can also support multiple languages as well and automatically extract the customer's intent and sentiment. It comes with it's been pre-trained to understand human language and decode unstructured speech and text. So with AI-powered virtual agents, you can increase that self-service rate where for customer service, you get the biggest cost containment impact because a large percentage of cases just don't need human help. And while many customers still, of course, want to have the option to speak to a human agent, a majority will be willing to engage with an intelligent self-service channel like the virtual agent if it saves them time and solves their issue. And it's worth noting that AI-powered self-service portals is another way as well that you can help customers find answers quickly as well. Okay, next slide. And then automation two is a real-time transcription. So this is really about empowering agents, so live agents, to support customer service and give customers faster answers. So the majority of CX professionals do believe that AI will serve as an assistant to human agents rather than replace them. At Talkdesk, we fully subscribe to this belief, and we put a lot of focus on building tools that uses AI for agent to assist agents and give them intelligent guidance in real time, helping them to recommend the next best actions and resolve customer issues quickly and correctly. So with the real-time transcription, what you're able to do with the benefits of AI is really up the productivity levels of agents, helping them recommend answers to customers faster, and also automate many of the admin tasks related to pre-call or on-call and post-call work, and reduce the need for an agent to call a supervisor for assistance. In many conversation AI techniques can be used to help agents support multiple countries as well, and get contextual assistance to support a variety of different customers and overcome those traditional communication barriers. So real-time transcriptions in many ways is like the beating heart of a lot of the automations that especially help agents. Next slide, please. And then automation 3 is speech analytics. So you can turn interactions into customer intelligence. So you can use AI to pinpoint why different customers are having issues that prompt them to contact customer service. And you can analyze 100% of customer interactions. For example, there might be a problem for customers in a specific country, or maybe you speak a certain language, or may have some disabilities that are preventing them from getting the right information. So with AI, you can derive value from multiple data sources and reveal essential insights and discover many of the unknown customer pain points. There are billions, thousands, billions of customer interactions every year. Only a small percentage of them actually get mined and analysed for further insights. So AI really sharpens and speeds up the ability to identify the causes of customer issues, and it also helps to enrich the way you can coach agents by proactively identifying opportunities to improve their skills, leveraging intelligent monitoring and reporting, and get a complete view of how customer satisfaction and agent effectiveness is working together. So there's multiple benefits in having the speech analytics capabilities embedded. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so I just want to spend a few minutes now to say a little bit more about some of the more advanced insights that you can automatically gather. So with insight tools, you can automatically, as I mentioned before, extract intent and automate the analysis of customer conversations based on that back and forth interaction and understanding customer intent, which is simply put, intent is what customers want from customer service. Why are they getting in touch? So it's a really powerful way to get deeper insights and provide customers with better ways to find out information. So you will get a sense of if they're frustrated or if they're angry, and try and eliminate some of the pain points by getting the kind of the visual representation that you can see here about sentiments. Next slide, please. And then with AI-powered sentiment analysis, it helps you derive the true nature of customer opinions and enables you to get a more sort of transparent view on the overall opinion and mood and attitude of customers. So with sentiment analysis, it lets you look at the factors that are driving positive customer engagement, such as communicating empathy, or indicators of negative customer experiences, such as supervisor escalations. Next slide. Okay, so an essential part of business, of course, providing that high quality customer service at scale, and customer service agents have always been and will continue to be critical to customer experience. And most customers, still do prefer to speak to a live customer service agent especially to resolve complex issues. But it's of course time consuming for agents to find the right information and questions to answers to questions. And this is not only should we say, a poor use of time for the agents, but also for the customers as well. So it sort of prevents that deep engagement between customers, and can harm the brand reputation as well in many ways. So by gathering deeper insights, you can introduce a feedback loop to improve the answers that agents give to customers and enable them to provide better answers and faster in the future. Next slide, please. Okay, so the truth is that automation in customer service is probably not optional, but it's important to start by thinking about what is necessary to automate. And so take a good and honest look at how things are currently done in your contact center, and consider the tasks that have little demand for human judgment. Bots are great at calculations than humans, but humans are better at complex judgments, whilst bots aren't. Bots can make more informed decisions, but making more nuanced and judgment calls will require human touch. And of course, then think about the tasks that require low levels of empathy. So things like checking an order status or a balance query or opening hours or delivery times. These things require accuracy, consistency, speed, but rarely need empathy. And then think about the tasks that involve handling high volumes of data. So any process with the potential for generating lots of data, particularly customer interaction data, to collect and do that analysis at scale. And with AI at the heart of that, you can add a level of a sophistication that can make that automation quite deep in terms of gathering those sort of insights that would be very difficult for humans alone to be able to uncover. Next slide, please. Okay, so my final takeaway. So before you do what you flick that automation on switch, or should I say the no code automation switch. A few takeaways. First of all, define the essential repetitive tasks that should be automated. Think about the baseline, but also be bold enough to push it further into areas that you may not have previously considered before as areas that you could automate. And then measure success. Think about your success criteria. Think about all the areas that take up precious time when you're trying to resolve customer queries, and set goals about what you could automate and how much of a time saving you're looking for things like with your handling time. And then design your automation journeys. So at Talkdesk, we provide supplementary tools to help you identify areas that could be automated and help you with that design of the optimal paths for your automation journey, and ensure that handling time and customer satisfaction are at the heart of that design process. And finally, if I haven't said it enough already, I'll say it again. All these automations that I mentioned require no coding. In fact, you don't even need to call the IT department. It's very easy to implement. You have also the tools to fine-tune the automations and the AI models and shape the automation in a way that works best for your business. And with that, I'd like to thank you and hand back to Chantal.
Thank you so much, Jay. We're going to go to our Q&A session now. So if you have questions for Jay, please post them in your questions box or your chat box. There's both varieties there. And I also have permission from Jay as well. If you'd like to speak to Jay afterwards, say you have a question that you think of, please connect with her on LinkedIn. I have posted the link for her LinkedIn profile on the chat box, so feel free to click on that and connect directly with Jay. So we're just going to go into the questions, Jay. So the first one, what industries are investing the most in AI for better insights?
Well, I think all industries benefit from better insights, but we've seen quite a lot of investment from retail. If we think about kind of companies like Amazon and Netflix, they've kind of paved the way for what good customer experience should feel like. And so retail has definitely being responsive to those changes and investing. But banking, government, we're seeing a lot of interest from government to get better insights into how they can improve citizen experience. Healthcare as well. So in Talkdesk, we work a lot with healthcare providers, especially in the US, where the system is somewhat different and more kind of commercialized, shall we say, but there's been a lot of investment into how that patient experience can be improved by using those insights. So to be honest, any industry, but all can benefit from it, and we are seeing investments coming in from the variety of industries that I mentioned.
That's great, thank you. There's a question around timescales with implementing an AI like this. So is there sort of a time frame from start to finish, or does it depend from company to company? Obviously, with setting something like this up, they want it up as quick as possible.
Yeah, it does vary from company to company. It depends on a number of things. How many the volumes that you handle every day. If you're in a regulated industry. And yeah, just looking at kind of your current tech stack. But what we tend to do is we work closely with customers. We have a CX strategy team that work very closely with potential customers to figure out, okay, well, what is it that you need as a kind of just to get started? And that's something that we kind of are. We happily work with customers just on just getting them started into that kind of journey of automation and getting better insights and using real-time transcriptions, and then build up from there. So it is a change, and I think change is more of a kind of an emotional journey, should we say. So it's also important to recognize that change can impact the way people are currently working, what they know already, and breaking some habits, we say. But all those things need to be considered when implementing automation, like I mentioned.
Great, thank you. So we have a question here: who should take responsibility in a contact center for implementing AI?
Well, I think when it comes to the way we've designed the tools, we have deliberately designed them in a way that you don't have to go to your IT team and just make a big IT project out of it. It should really be very easy to implement. It partly depends on how companies the policies they may have in terms of implementing any IT tools. So partly it's about just every company has a different policy around that. In theory, from a practical perspective, it doesn't require you to bring in big IT teams. It's really simple to kind of implement and use. It's designed in a way that contact center staff have the autonomy to operate and fine tune and take corrective action as well, without relying on other companies or other teams to give them that help. So from a design perspective, it's designed for the contact center for non-technical staff. But again, it comes back to how companies might have, what kind of policies companies might have internally in terms of implemented technology.
That's great, thank you. I hope that answers your question. So there's a question here that says, you mentioned AIs talking to the customers, reducing the work for the agents. What kind of impact do you think a mistrust of robot/AIs that customers would have on the effectiveness of this kind of AI?
So one of the things that we advocate, and we provide some assistance around this, is best practices on how to design the optimal conversation between a human and a virtual agent. So designing the conversation is really important, and I think where companies or where traditional chatbots have gone wrong is that just the design of those conversations hasn't really considered how humans like to communicate. So I think so the idea isn't to make a human, a customer, feel like they're talking to another human. It's perfectly okay for them to know that they're talking to a bot. But what's important is for them to feel that they are that their questions are being understood. So a lot of that comes with the type of questions that the virtual agent is asking the customer. So design them really well. Think about making them more binary, so that you don't have customers. When you're asking a question to a customer and they're giving you the third option when you've only got two options. So it's really important that you design it in a way that it has a nice flow to it. So I would say if the design of the conversations are done well, then there shouldn't be a mistrust. There's always going to be a point where a customer may need help from a live agent. Maybe they're feeling frustrated or anxious. And again, with sentiment and intent extraction, virtual agents are designed to escalate, so seamlessly escalate to a live agent when such things are detected. So again, it's all about how you design around human emotions and how humans like to communicate.
That's great, thank you. I hope that answers that question. This one's around data. So do you need a lot of data to get deeper insights?
Well, you do need a lot of data in the sense that you have a lot of data as a contact center. So if you think about every single interaction, every word that's uttered, every phrase, they're data points, but it's not data that we're actually capturing today very easily. So you do need a lot of data, but it's not to say that you have to be a big organization to have that data actually, just by, I wouldn't know how to put a number on it, but if you think about the number of words that are uttered between conversations, it's probably a lot, and that's a lot of data that contact centers can use to get better insights.
That's great, thank you. I'm just going to do a last call for questions. If you do have any questions, please pop them in that question box because we're coming to the end of our session. Just one final question, again, it's around data. So just briefly, how is data privacy handled when gathering unstructured customer data? Sorry.
Yeah, so most contact centers will already have mechanisms and rules around how they handle customer data, so personal identifiable information. So that's already been part of how contact centers operate. So with unstructured data, it's not really about getting deep into a single customer's interaction. It's about getting a sense of patterns and trends. So it doesn't really care about personal identifiable information. It really cares about trends. So that from that perspective, it's not really kind of designed to kind of overlook existing practices around data privacy. I think also when it comes to data privacy, as an organization, you will have your own security mechanisms in place. So it's in many ways actually with AI, you can actually protect customer data more accurately in that it sort of leaves leaves kind of less of an opportunity to actually have data breaches based on human error, should we say. So yeah, so the point being is that when it comes to insights, it's not about looking at specific customer personal information, it's about looking at trends and patterns.
That's great, thank you. Well, that's all of our questions. Again, if you do have any questions for Jay following this session, the link for Jay's LinkedIn profile is in our chat box. So that concludes today's session, and I would just like to thank everybody for taking the time to join us today. A very special thank you for the very lovely Jay for delivering today's presentation, and a thank you to Talkdesk for partnering with us today. So for more information on Talkdesk, you can visit their website, www.talkdesk.com, and everything that Talkdesk does on there will be there for you. For more information on membership at the UK Contact Centre Forum, and for a full list of all upcoming UKCCF webinars and events, you can visit our website, www.uk-ccf.co.uk. We have recently just announced the date of our next charity golf day, which I know Trevor is really looking forward to. We're doing it in for the NHS. We're raising money for the NHS. It's on the 18th of May 2022, and it will be held at the Carden Park Hotel in Cheshire. If you would like further information regarding that, please contact Trevor directly. His email is trevor, Trevor, at uk-ccf.co.uk. And we've recently relaunched our e-magazine site, which is Contact Centre Monthly, and you can keep up to date with all the industry's recent news, blogs, white papers and resources by visiting www.contactcentermonthly.co.uk. Thank you again for everybody for taking the time today to join us. Thank you, Jay, and goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.